Hello. The purpose of this video is to talk about my writing process. I was asked recently how I approach writing a new story, and my simple answer was I don't write. Um, I don't uh, write at all. The stories exist, and then I simply report them. Um, I don't know why that is the case, but unfortunately, I feel like the world building that I get to do is very minimal because the world already exists and then gets put inside my brain and then I have to report it out. It's almost like investigative journalism. The story is there and I get bits of information from the characters and then I have to go into the story and discover um, what's actually what actually took place and what actually happened. Um, so I wanted to expand upon that a little bit more because this is a question I get asked a lot um, from other writers and from writers who are more experienced than me, um, who have been gracious enough to give me tips and information, and from writers who perhaps are just at the start or starting out or thinking about starting out. And I'm by all, you know, by no means am I an established writer. Not even a very talented one, I don't think. It's just that I seem to have a way of being able to write very concisely and very quickly. Um, so I wanted to just talk about very specifically about why and how, or not the why, but how I come up with new story ideas and how I structure them. So the first thing I do when a new story pops into my head is I do a one pager, which is essentially in handwriting. I write down the title, the log line, and then the major plot points that happen. Mostly this fits onto one page. I don't do character development. I don't do anything. I essentially write down the log line, which I think is going to fit best, and the log line gets edited a million times after that. The title I think fits best, which also gets edited a million times after that. Um, and then literally in uh, just plot points that I think hits that I think the story is going to take, and then that's all the creativity done. That's all the creativity I get to have, because after that, then it's as if I've already seen the movie, and now I'm trying to write the script to the movie that I saw in my head. There's not much. There's not much um, building going on. It's more like reconstructing the plans for a building that already exists. So we have a house sitting there, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, um, where do the electrical wires go? How was this built back when it was being built? And that's the the spark that starts the story. Then it is really just a case of going through these single plot points and just writing out the scenes, filling them out, filling them with life, and then the conclusion is there. Now, sometimes I do have to go a little bit deeper into the story if it's a more complicated plot. So, say the plot for The Indian Wife was quite complicated. It had flashbacks, it had different character strings that went a different way, it had, timeline confusion. Where is this character while this character is doing that? You know, um, if that's the case, if it's a not very kind of linear script that goes from point A to B to C, um, then I will draw out kind of character timelines and see what's going on, character arches and character information. But again, it does not feel like I am creating. It feels very much like I am a journalist and I'm just reporting the story that happened. Um, in the case of actual true stories, like with my script Blackbird, I didn't need any of that because I wrote it from memory. But if I were to reconstruct that script and do it over and do it better, I would probably start out with a plan, because true stories are just that much more complicated and they do need a little bit more work at this stage of the writing. Now, as soon as this is done, uh, I it will take me between 12 hours and a week to complete the first draft of the script. If it takes me any longer than that, I tend to not do it because I know then that it wasn't a story that even kept my attention. How could I expect it to keep anyone else's attention, really, realistically, if I'm not even passionate about finishing something that already exists? If it's 1 page long, if I can't even get through 1 page of a story, really, it's not worth putting more time into it than say a week. So I tend to, and those concepts I tend to then push aside and say, you know what, it wasn't meant to be. And that's also very important, because if you only put this much work into a story and you already realize it's not worth it, then you don't feel that sunken cost fallacy goes away, because you don't feel like you've put that much work into it, and you're like, okay, you know what, this wasn't worth it, let's recycle it, let's take it away, let's put it to the side for a while. So yes, the spark of a story is always very much, um I have a movie stuck in my head that I need to write down. I do so by summarizing it and then filling in the blanks and filling in the fleshy bits. Um, and that's worked quite well so far. It means I can be very productive. It means first drafts are not an issue. It's the real work then starts making that first draft into an actually good script. That's the hardest part, and maybe I'll do a different video about how I approach that. But yes, from this to this doesn't take that long, and then I write on it. I write on it that it's the first draft. I haven't written that there. There you go. I write down. I print it out. I write down that it's draft one and therefore worthless, and then I I let it rest for a while and go into the second draft, and I'll do a different video about the second draft. So yes, that's my thoughts on conceiving and creating and outlining and plotting a story, um, that I've been asked about. And yeah, thank you very much.